Welcome back to another video. I'll start by apologizing to people that subscribed specifically to see this video. It took me way too long to put this together, but today I'm showing you a roll of film that I put through this Nikon F80. If you were around before, or if you didn't see that video, this was a camera that I picked up at a thrift shop for very, very cheap. It was in really disgusting shape. It was all sticky. It looked really beat up and well loved, but I managed to clean it up. It feels almost brand new. And I paired it with this beautiful Nikon 20 to 35 f2.8 lens that I picked up from Japan. And it's an autofocusing lens. This combination was incredible. Throughout the entire roll, you'll see that I don't think it missed focus once, which is amazing and very unexpected. And typically when I shoot a test roll of film in a camera, I like to shoot something either expired or very cheap. So in this case, on this camera, I shot a roll of Kentmere 400 that was hand rolled by Downtown Camera. And the scans are from my favorite lab here in Montreal, Borealis. Shout out, you guys are awesome. I would say that overall, I'm super happy with this test roll. A lot of shots ended up being keepers. I wouldn't say there's portfolio shots in here, but for a test roll, I'm super happy with what I got. And I'll probably end up posting quite a few of these on my grid. If you notice that a couple of the shots are just blurred out, it's not because the camera missed focus. There's a couple of photos in here that are behind the scenes photos from a shoot that I did that has not been posted yet, so I can't show you guys those photos here. Maybe I'll put them into a later video for a different camera or a different roll of film after that video goes public. We'll kind of play it by ear a little bit. That's all my disclaimers for this video, and let's get into it. Now, I believe I started shooting these, I think it was like middle of November, so there wasn't much greenery left on the trees. And here, where I am in Canada, once the leaves have fallen, it's kind of drab, so I felt like shooting in black and white was okay. The one thing that I realized after I loaded in the black and white was that if there was maybe a light leak in this camera, maybe it wouldn't be as apparent, but it seems like everything was okay in the end. This first shot here was just nothing to write home about, unfortunately. It's just some bleachers. I'm not super... I don't know. I don't know what I saw when I took this shot, so let's skip past this one. Yep, that's the leaves that fell on the ground. This shot, obviously, when you're looking through the viewfinder, probably popped. It's probably nice burnt oranges and browns, but in black and white, it doesn't really play like much, so we can skip past this. This is where I was trying to play with some framing to use some foreground elements and have different layers to the shot. I thought it was kind of cool to frame the statue through these railings, but I think maybe it didn't quite do what I was trying to do. Shot like this I thought was pretty cool. This probably would have worked in color really nice because there was still quite a bit of leaves on that tree. I like this shot of the unicorn skeleton, just mainly because it's a unicorn skeleton. You don't see those that often, or at least for me, this was the first time. But I think my framing and composition, the skeleton, like the unicorn's head, gets a little bit lost against the white backdrop of the house. And I wish that I framed it a little bit differently to maybe make the frame a little bit less busy. But maybe it would have also just worked better on a 50mm or an 85mm lens instead. This is just a throwaway shot of my cat on the bed. I don't know why this shot looks a little bit underexposed. I can't remember if I metered for the shadows or the highlights. I think maybe it's the lab scan. It's hard to tell because normally I find that Kentmere will have quite a bit more details than I have on this roll, although I think this is the first time I shot a roll of Kentmere at box speed, maybe ever. I kind of treat it a little bit more like a color negative film where I feel like it does better with more light rather than shooting it straight at box speed. This is a view from a hotel room in Boston. The wide angle lens didn't really work on this shot. As you can see, the lines are kind of slanted on one side, which I wasn't ecstatic about. I do want to see if we can maybe just adjust the blacks a little bit. And yeah, I would probably do something like that just to give it a little bit more punch. And sometimes, I think some people consider this to be cheating, but sometimes you can do these transforms to try to get the angles in your shot a little bit more true to life. I don't always do this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, I do think that it helps a little bit. I would probably do that. Here's just another shot from the hotel. You can feel there's a little bit of lens distortion on this lens. It feels like the lines are curved just a little bit. This shot, I wasn't quite sure if this would work out. I feel like it looks better as a thumbnail. I was trying to play with the grid and, you know, do a bit of a leading line thing. Yeah, I think getting the lines a bit straighter on this one is worth it. This shot through the fence, I think this is the old subway station entrance in Boston. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but there's something about shooting through a fence that gives a little bit of a voyeuristic feel about the photo, and that's kind of what I was going for in this shot without making it, you know, without trying to make it feel too creepy. This is an abandoned train station that my friend and I found along the drive between Montreal and Toronto. It was, for me, it was probably the highlight of that drive. I don't often get to stop and look for things like this, so this was kind of cool to come across this. I also shot a few other frames here with a Pentax, which I'm soon going to be showing you guys the results of. In case you were wondering, I have not done any edits to these photos until now. You guys are going through them with me in real time. These are the scans straight from the lab. I'm pretty happy with how that shot turned out. If I was shooting digital, I probably would have fired off easily 5 or 10 frames trying to make sure that I would get all the lines and everything as properly symmetrical as I could, and I came pretty damn close on this, considering you got one shot on film. Well, I mean, you could shoot more if you wanted, but considering I only took one frame, I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out. It's like almost perfect. It's got a little bit of that, a little bit on one side. The tracks is just a little bit shorter than on the right side, but you know what? I'm okay with that. I feel like I will forgive myself on the framing for that. This shot too, I was trying to work with some leading lines, putting the center of the frame at the horizon here at the end of the tracks, so that the negative space would kind of lead your eyes to go from the tracks to the building. Maybe I could do with straightening it just a little bit. Just like that. Pretty happy with that one. Honestly, don't know what I was doing. This shot is super bland to me. This is kind of like the first shot. I think what happened here was like I couldn't remember if I took this shot, so I took it again when we were leaving. This shot of the CN Tower. Every time I go to Toronto, I try to find an interesting and different way to photograph the tower because, well, one, obviously it's the most iconic piece of architecture in all of the city, I think, but because of that, everybody photographs it, and myself included. And I think what I've been trying to do is find unique ways to photograph it that I don't see that often. So when I saw this opportunity, I was like, this is kind of cool. I like how it's framed by this big negative space of the canopy over the staircase that was here. I think it just gives a little bit of a different perspective that you definitely don't see every day. Yeah, so this shot had so much more potential. When I'm doing night photography, I look for pools of light and I try to do something with that, highlight the subject, and then have everything fall off into the darkness. This shot, I think, turned out better on my phone than it did in the camera. Maybe because on the phone I shot it in color. If I can find it, I'll pop that up on the screen right now. Definitely works a little bit better as a landscape shot. This is one of the shots that every time I do nighttime photography, I feel like the shots give this kind of underexposed look, and I do like to just bring the blacks down just a little bit more to have it a little truer to how I perceived it when I was taking the photo. This is just an abandoned building in Boston. I was hoping that this would be a little more interesting than it was, but yeah, not bad. This shot's kind of cool. I had to wait quite a while to get a shot with no cars passing here, but it feels very everyday photo-like. I'm pretty okay with that. Kind of creepy. Got a bit of like a zombie vibe. It's it feels like it's up for debate whether it's supposed to be a social commentary on people on their phones or panhandlers or something about society. Definitely there's something that makes you pause and look, and I think the photo kind of speaks for itself. It definitely captured it in a way that I think the artist would appreciate. Right across the street on the same corner was this building with weird octopus arms sticking out. They kind of worked really well on black and white because um, in person they were just like inflatable like balloon arms, and they look really tacky and cheap. But in black and white, it kind of works. It kind of plays like a 1950s Ed Wood film or something, you know. Especially this angle, I think this one works pretty well. I think both of them work pretty well. It's pretty obscure and different. And I think in this one, I like the framing with the post with the security camera and the little sign on the side. Okay. Now I've approached a couple behind the scenes photos that I cannot show you guys, unfortunately. This shot, maybe I can show you. Let's see. Just a mug on the thing. Okay, so this shot here, I'm actually surprised there's a bit of an exposure change between these two because that was part of a burst. So that means that maybe either in the scan or in the camera, the shutter speed itself is maybe not 100% accurate, because you would think that a burst should have the same exposure on both frames because you didn't change settings between shots. So maybe that's one thing that is not 100% accurate or working properly in this camera. Since I had to skip past the other photos, I can show you guys this one. This is a behind the scenes shot of one of Chris Ramsey's podcast studios. It's very photogenic in here. Everything in Chris's studio just looks great because he has such an eye for details and lighting, and it's just a really fun place to take photos. So there's nothing wrong with the lens here. I blurred this shot on purpose. These two shots ended up a little bit underexposed, and I was kind of surprised by that because I was looking at the meter and I felt like I was overexposing. But I guess I should have metered a little bit more for the shadows on these two. So yeah, that was my first roll in the Nikon F80. Man, I know I definitely took my time shooting this roll because it went over a couple months, but the result of that is that when you're taking your time and you shoot only things that you feel like are worth shooting, you end up with quite a few keepers. And in this case, I don't have that many from this roll that I would consider to be like portfolio shots, but I'm pretty happy with most of them, and I think I would happily post most of these on my grid. If you were to ask my thoughts on this camera, well, you know, I've only shot the one roll through it so far, but I would say if you see an F80 or any other camera in that kind of series, in that line, pick it up, definitely, especially if the price is reasonable like this one was. The camera itself feels very robust. It reminded me a lot of shooting on a Nikon DSLR, if you've ever shot on a Nikon DSLR before. Just the grip, the ergonomics, the way the dials felt, everything was very reminiscent of that. You could tell that it was like a precursor to the Nikon DSLR era. I keep saying Nikon. Somebody's going to correct me. It would probably be pronounced Nikon or Nikon. I think Nikon. I say Nikon because that's what I've always said, and I apologize if you think it's wrong. Coming back to the lens, I picked up this 20 to 35 f2.8 autofocusing lens, and this for me was a winning combo. Out of the entire roll, I don't have a single shot that missed focus. I think I pretty much shot everything either on the wide end or on the telephoto end of 35 mil. So if you see the shot felt very wide, it was probably shot at 20. And if the shot felt more normal, it was probably shot at 35. I didn't really use the range in between. Yeah, I'm super happy with this camera. So far, I'm definitely going to add it to my collection and keep it in rotation. And the next time I put a roll of film through it, I will share the results of those too. If you made it to the end of the video, I'd appreciate if you hit the like button and the subscribe button, because doing that will help other people who might like this video find this video, because the algorithm, blah, 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 blah. And I'll try post videos like this a little more often. So if you hit that subscribe button, hopefully I'll see you again in a week or so. All right, see ya.